Hi, I'm Theodore. I had dedicated the last decade of my life to preserving the natural beauty of the Smoldering Clouds National Park in Russia. Nestled in the remote and rugged terrain of the Ural Mountains, the park was a sanctuary of untouched wilderness. Its mysterious allure was matched only by the inherent dangers that lurk within its dense forests and fog-shrouded peaks. I lived alone in a modest cabin perched on the side of the mountain. The isolation afforded me a unique vantage point to monitor the park, but it also meant long stretches of solitude, interrupted only by the occasional encounters with hikers or wildlife. My days were a blend of routine patrols, trail maintenance, and documenting the flora and fauna that called the park home. One crisp autumn evening, as I returned from my daily patrol, I noticed an unusual glow emanating from deep within the forest. It was not the soft, golden hue of the setting sun, but a sharp, eerie luminescence that seemed out of place. Intrigued and somewhat concerned, I decided to investigate. Equipped with a flashlight and my trusty rifle, I ventured into the forest, following the strange light. The deeper I went, the more the air grew thick with an oppressive silence, as if the very trees were holding their breath. After what felt like hours, I stumbled upon a clearing I had never seen before, despite my intimate knowledge of the park. In the center of the clearing stood a peculiar stone structure, covered in ancient runes that glowed with the same eerie light. My heart raced as I approached the structure, my mind racing with questions. What was this place? And why had I never discovered it before? As I examined the runes, I felt a sudden chill run down my spine. The temperature seemed to plummet, and the air crackled with an unnatural energy. My flashlight flickered and died, plunging me into darkness. In the dim light of the glowing runes, I saw shadows moving at the edge of the clearing, and a sense of foreboding settled over me. Without warning, the ground beneath me began to tremble. The runes' light intensified, casting long, twisted shadows that seemed to dance and writhe. My instincts screamed at me to flee, but my feet felt rooted to the spot. I watched in horror as the stone structure began to shift and change, revealing a dark, gaping entrance that seemed to pull at the very fabric of reality. Just as I thought I would be consumed by the darkness, the tremor ceased and the light of the runes dimmed. The forest was silent once more, but the sense of unease remained. I knew that whatever I had stumbled upon was not meant to be disturbed, and I hurried back to my cabin, my mind a whirl of fear and curiosity. That night, my sleep was plagued by vivid nightmares. I dreamed of ancient beings rising from the depths of the earth, their eyes glowing with the same eerie light as the runes. They whispered my name in voices that echoed through the darkness, filling me with a sense of impending doom. When I awoke, drenched in sweat, I knew that the events of the previous night were far from over. Determined to uncover the truth, I delved into the park's archives, searching for any mention of the stone structure or the runes. My research led me to old folklore and legends, stories of a forgotten civilization that had once thrived in the region. According to the tales, this civilization had harnessed powerful magic, and the stone structure was believed to be a gateway to their underworld. I realized that I had to act quickly. Whatever I had awakened in the forest posed a threat not only to me, but to the entire park. Armed with my knowledge and a newfound resolve, I prepared to confront the ancient forces that lurk beneath the Smoldering Clouds National Park. As I delved deeper into the legends of the Smoldering Clouds National Park, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched. The forest, once a place of serene beauty, now seemed to pulse with an unseen energy. Even the animals, usually so familiar to me, behaved erratically, as if sensing the disturbance that had been unleashed. In my quest for answers, I sought out the reclusive Dr. Ivanov, a historian and expert in Russian folklore who lived in a nearby town. Dr. Ivanov was initially skeptical of my account, but the mention of the glowing runes piqued his interest. The two of us pored over ancient texts and maps, seeking any reference to the mysterious stone structure. Dr. Ivanov revealed a chilling piece of information. The stone structure was part of a network of ancient gateways scattered throughout the region. These gateways were believed to be connected to a powerful underworld, guarded by entities bound to protect the secrets and power of their civilization. The glowing runes were a form of ancient magic, a barrier that kept the forces of the underworld in check. My mind raced with this new information. I realized that by uncovering the stone structure, I had unwittingly weakened the barrier and allowed something to escape. The thought sent shivers down my spine. Dr. Ivanov advised caution and suggested that we visit the site together to gather more information. The following evening, Dr. Ivanov and I set out for the clearing. As we approached, the air grew thick with tension. The runes on the stone structure glowed faintly, casting an eerie light over the clearing. Dr. Ivanov examined the runes closely, muttering incantations and making notes in his journal. Suddenly, a low growl echoed through the forest. My hand tightened on my rifle as I scanned the tree-line. Emerging from the shadows was a figure draped in tattered robes, its eyes glowing with a malevolent light. The creature's presence exuded an aura of ancient power and rage, and I knew instinctively that this was one of the guardians of the underworld. Before I could react, the creature lunged at me. I fired my rifle, but the bullets passed through the guardian as if it were made of smoke. The guardian's eyes burned with fury as it spoke in a guttural voice, warning us to leave or face the consequences. Dr. Ivanov quickly recited a spell he had learned from the ancient texts, creating a protective barrier around us. The guardian snarled and retreated, but I knew this was only a temporary reprieve. We had to find a way to restore the barrier and seal the gateway before more guardians emerged. Dr. Ivanov and I returned to the cabin, where we spent the night deciphering the ancient texts. The text revealed that the only way to restore the barrier was through a ritual involving the blood of a guardian, a rare herb found only in the deepest parts of the forest, and an incantation recited under the full moon. I knew our time was running out. The full moon was only 2 nights away, and we had to gather the necessary ingredients before it was too late. With Dr. Ivanov's guidance, I set out into the forest to find the rare herb. The forest seemed to conspire against me, with dense undergrowth and treacherous terrain slowing my progress. After hours of searching, I finally found the herb, its leaves glowing faintly in the moonlight. As I reached out to pluck it, I felt a presence behind me. Turning, I saw another guardian, its eyes filled with ancient wisdom and sorrow. Unlike the previous guardian, this one did not attack. Instead, it seemed to communicate a silent plea, a desire to return to its realm. I realized that the guardians were not malevolent by nature, but protectors bound to their duty. I carefully collected the herb and made my way back to the cabin, with the herb in hand and the incantation memorized. Dr. Ivanov and I prepared for the ritual. As the full moon rose, casting an ethereal glow over the forest, Dr. Ivanov and I returned to the clearing. The runes glowed brightly, and the air hummed with energy. We began the ritual, reciting the incantation and mixing the herb with a drop of my blood. The ground trembled as the barrier slowly began to reform. The guardians emerged from the shadows, their forms shimmering with otherworldly light. They watched intently, their eyes a mix of vigilance and hope. Dr. Ivanov and I continued the ritual, our voices growing stronger and more confident with each word. As the incantation reached its peak, a surge of energy pulsed through the clearing. The runes on the stone structure flared brightly, and a wave of light spread outwards, enveloping the entire area. The guardians let out a collective sigh, their forms solidifying as the barrier was restored. The oppressive presence that had hung over the forest lifted, replaced by a sense of calm and balance. Dr. Ivanov and I looked at each other, our faces reflecting a mixture of relief and exhaustion. We had succeeded in our task, but we knew that our work was far from over. The guardians, now visible and at peace, approached the two of us. One of them, the same guardian that had watched me collect the herb, stepped forward. "Thank you," it said in a voice that resonated with the ancient power of the forest. "You have restored the balance and prevented a great evil from escaping. But know this, The barriers are old and fragile. You must remain vigilant, for others may seek to exploit the power of these gateways." I nodded, understanding the weight of the Guardian's words. Dr. Ivanov and I pledged to protect the forest and ensure that the barriers remained intact. The Guardians, satisfied with our vow, began to fade back into the shadows, their forms blending seamlessly with the forest around them. In the days that followed, Dr. Ivanov and I worked tirelessly to document our findings and share our knowledge with the local community. We held meetings with the villagers, explaining the importance of the ancient gateways and the role they played in maintaining the balance of the forest. The villagers, initially skeptical, came to appreciate the gravity of the situation and pledged their support. My relationship with the forest deepened, and I found a renewed sense of purpose in my role as a protector. I continued to explore the park, always on the lookout for signs of disturbance and potential threats. Dr. Ivanov remained a close ally, his scholarly expertise invaluable in deciphering the ancient texts and guiding our efforts. Despite the challenges we faced, I felt a sense of fulfillment and connection that I had never experienced before. The forest, with its ancient magic and timeless beauty, had become a part of me, and I was determined to protect it at all costs. As the seasons changed and the forest thrived, I knew that I had found my true calling. Their journey had taught them the importance of vigilance, unity, and respect for the natural world. The Guardians, once unseen and mysterious, had become allies in their quest to preserve the balance of the forest. Theodore, Dr. Ivanov, and the villagers stood together, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead, united by their shared commitment to protecting the land they loved. As Dr. Ivanov and I continued the ritual, the air around us crackled with energy. The Guardians emerged from the shadows, watching intently but making no move to interfere. I could feel their ancient eyes upon me, a mix of sorrow and duty emanating from their spectral forms. The realization that these beings were protectors, not aggressors, strengthened my resolve to complete the ritual and restore the barrier. Just as we neared the ritual's completion, a sudden disruption shattered our concentration. A group of poachers, drawn by rumors of the park's hidden treasures, stumbled upon the clearing. The poachers, led by a man named Sergei, were armed and desperate, their eyes gleaming with greed. They saw the glowing runes and the ancient structure as their ticket to unimaginable wealth. "Step away from there," Sergei barked, raising his rifle. "That treasure belongs to us now." Dr. Ivanov and I exchanged a tense glance. We couldn't allow the poachers to disrupt the ritual, but we also knew that confronting them directly could escalate into violence. I stepped forward, trying to reason with Sergei. "You don't understand," I began. "This isn't just any treasure. It's a barrier keeping something far worse at bay. If you disrupt this ritual, you'll unleash a force beyond your comprehension." Sergei sneered, his grip tightening on his rifle. "Nice try, old man. We've heard all the ghost stories. Now step aside." Before I could respond, one of the Guardians moved forward, its form shimmering with an otherworldly light. The poachers recoiled in fear, but Sergei, blinded by his greed, raised his rifle and fired. The bullet passed through the Guardian harmlessly, but the act of aggression triggered a reaction from the other Guardians. The forest erupted into chaos as the Guardians began to defend the barrier. The poachers, realizing they were outmatched, fired wildly into the night. Dr. Ivanov and I resumed the ritual, our voices rising above the din of battle. The Guardians, both ancient and powerful, seemed to understand the urgency and protected the two of us as we worked. In the midst of the chaos, I saw Lena, a local herbalist and an old friend, rushing towards us. She had been drawn by the disturbances in the forest and had come to offer her assistance. Lena's knowledge of herbs and ancient rituals was invaluable, and her presence added a layer of complexity to the unfolding events. Lena quickly assessed the situation and joined Dr. Ivanov and me in the ritual. With her guidance, we adapted the incantation, incorporating additional elements to strengthen the barrier. The forest seemed to pulse with our combined energy, and the runes on the stone structure glowed brighter than ever. The poachers, realizing the futility of their efforts, retreated into the forest, leaving Dr. Ivanov, Lena, and me to complete the ritual. The guardians, sensing the shift in balance, returned to their positions around the clearing, their watchful eyes never leaving the three of us. As the final words of the incantation were spoken, a wave of energy swept through the clearing. The ground trembled, and the runes on the stone structure flared with light. The barrier, once weakened, was restored, sealing the gateway to the underworld. Exhausted but triumphant, Dr. Ivanov, Lena, and I stood together, the sense of accomplishment mingling with the weight of our shared experiences. The guardians, their duty fulfilled, began to fade into the shadows, their forms becoming one with the force around them. Lena turned to me, her eyes reflecting the glow of the runes. "You've done it, Theodore. The barrier is restored, and the forest is safe. But we must remain vigilant. The forces we've dealt with are ancient and powerful. We need to ensure this never happens again." I nodded, my mind already turning to the future. I realized that the forest held many secrets, and our journey to protect it was far from over. With Lena and Dr. Ivanov by my side, I felt ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. Dr. Ivanov, Lena, and I had successfully restored the barrier, but the sense of unease lingered. The forest was calm, but beneath the surface, a latent energy simmered. I couldn't shake the feeling that our victory was only temporary, and that the true test was yet to come. As we regrouped at the cabin, we discussed our next steps. We need to understand what triggered the Guardian's awakening in the first place, Dr. Ivanov mused, poring over his notes. It's possible that there are more gateways, each connected to different realms of power. If we can locate and secure them, we might prevent further disturbances. Lena nodded in agreement. We also need to find a way to communicate with the Guardians more effectively. They hold the key to understanding these ancient forces. If we can gain their trust, they might help us protect the forest. I felt a surge of determination. I had always been a man of action, and the idea of securing the other gateways resonated with me. We decided to divide our efforts. Dr. Ivanov would continue his research, Lena would focus on developing methods to communicate with the Guardians, and I would scout the forest for signs of other gateways. As I ventured deeper into the forest, I couldn't help but reflect on my journey. I had come to this remote place seeking solitude and a simple life, but the forest had revealed itself to be a complex and mystical entity. The challenges I faced had transformed me from a solitary ranger into a protector of ancient magic. Days turned into weeks as I scoured the forest, guided by my instincts and the fragments of ancient texts provided by Dr. Ivanov. I discovered strange markings on trees, hidden clearings with unusual vegetation and remnants of old structures, each one hinting at the presence of another gateway. The forest seemed to guide my steps, leading me ever closer to the heart of its mysteries. One evening, while exploring a dense thicket, I stumbled upon a hidden cave. The entrance was partially concealed by overgrown vines, but the faint glow of runes drew me in. As I ventured deeper, the air grew colder, and the walls of the cave seemed to pulse with a rhythmic energy. My heart pounded as I realized I had found another gateway. The cave opened into a vast chamber, dominated by an ancient stone archway covered in glowing runes. I approached cautiously, feeling the weight of the centuries pressing down upon me. The archway seemed to hum with power, and I sensed the presence of guardians nearby. This gateway was different from the first. Its energy was more volatile, and the runes were more intricate. I knew I couldn't handle this alone. I returned to the cabin and shared my discovery with Dr. Ivanov and Lena. We decided to approach the gateway together, combining our knowledge and skills to understand its significance. Lena brought her herbal remedies and protective talismans, while Dr. Ivanov carried his books and ancient texts. As we entered the cave, the air grew thick with anticipation. The runes on the archway glowed brighter, and the rhythmic pulsing intensified. I could feel the guardians watching, their presence a mix of curiosity and caution. Dr. Ivanov studied the runes, muttering incantations under his breath, while Lena prepared a mixture of herbs to enhance our protective spells. Suddenly, the ground trembled, and the archway flared with light. A guardian materialized before us, its eyes burning with an intense, almost desperate energy. Unlike the previous guardians, this one seemed conflicted, torn between its duty to protect the gateway and its desire to communicate. I stepped forward, my voice steady. We mean no harm. We seek to understand and protect the balance of this forest. Please help us. The guardian's gaze softened, and it began to speak in a language that resonated with ancient power. Dr. Ivanov translated, his voice filled with awe. It says the gateways are connected to the heart of the forest, and that a great disturbance threatens the balance. Only by securing all the gateways and restoring the ancient magic can we prevent disaster. As the guardian spoke, images flooded my mind, visions of other gateways, each one a nexus of power and protection. I saw glimpses of a central point, the heart of the forest, where all the energies converged. This was the source of the forest's magic, and it was vulnerable. With newfound clarity, Dr. Ivanov, Lena, and I realized the enormity of our task. We had to locate and secure each gateway, culminating in a final journey to the heart of the forest. The path ahead was fraught with danger, but we were united in our purpose. I felt a surge of resolve. The true battle for the forest's future was about to begin, and I was ready to face it head-on, with Lena and Dr. Ivanov by my side. The revelation of the forest's heart and its connection to the gateway set Dr. Ivanov, Lena, and me on a path filled with urgency and determination. With each gateway we secured, we encountered new challenges and deepened our understanding of the ancient magic that protected the land. The forest, once a silent observer, now seemed to guide our steps and aid our mission. Our journey was arduous and fraught with danger. Each gateway presented unique obstacles, from treacherous terrain to hostile creatures guarding the ancient sites. The guardians, while initially wary, began to recognize our genuine intent and offered their assistance. Through this growing alliance, Dr. Ivanov, Lena, and I learned to navigate the delicate balance between the natural and supernatural realms. One of the most significant moments occurred when we reached the fourth gateway, located in a hidden valley shrouded in perpetual mist. The valley was home to a powerful guardian, an ancient spirit of the forest that tested our resolve with riddles and trials. Lena, with her deep knowledge of herbal lore and intuition, played a crucial role in earning the guardian's trust. Her connection to the land and its spirits resonated with the guardian, allowing us to secure the gateway without conflict. As we progressed, the villagers began to notice the changes in the forest. Animals returned to their natural behaviors, the air cleared, and the land seemed to breathe with newfound vitality. Dr. Ivanov, Lena, and I became symbols of hope and resilience, inspiring the villagers to take an active role in protecting their home. Irina, the wise elder, coordinated efforts to educate the community about the importance of maintaining the balance between humanity and nature. My cabin, once a solitary refuge, became a center of learning and collaboration. Lena and I hosted regular gatherings where we shared our knowledge of the forest and its mysteries. Dr. Ivanov's research provided valuable insights into the history and significance of the gateways, deepening the villagers' appreciation for their land. Despite the progress we made, I couldn't shake the feeling that a final, more significant challenge awaited us at the heart of the forest. The visions I had seen during my encounters with the Guardians hinted at a looming threat that could undo all our efforts if not confronted. This sense of impending danger weighed heavily on my mind, even as I reveled in the success of our mission. As the full moon approached once more, signaling the culmination of our journey, Dr. Ivanov, Lena, and I prepared for the final leg of our quest. The heart of the forest, a place of immense power and mystery, awaited us. We gathered our supplies and fortified our resolve, knowing that this final confrontation would test our strength, wisdom, and unity. I felt a mix of excitement and trepidation as we set out for the heart of the forest. The path was treacherous, filled with obstacles that seemed to test our determination at every turn. The closer we got, the more the air hummed with an ancient energy, a reminder of the powerful forces we were about to face. Upon reaching the heart of the forest, we were met with a breathtaking sight. An enormous tree, its bark covered in glowing runes, stood at the center of a vast clearing. The tree pulsed with life, its branches reaching towards the sky as if to embrace the very heavens. I knew that this was the source of the forest's magic, the nexus that connected all the gateways. As we approached the tree, a figure emerged from its shadows. It was the guardian of the heart, an ethereal being of immense power and wisdom. The guardian's presence filled the clearing with a sense of awe and reverence. Dr. Ivanov Lena, and I knew that we were in the presence of something truly extraordinary. The guardian spoke in a voice that resonated with the very essence of the forest. It acknowledged our efforts and sacrifices, but also warned of a great disturbance that threatened the balance. The guardian revealed that the heart of the forest was under siege by a malevolent force seeking to corrupt its power for its own gain. I felt a surge of determination. We had come this far, and there was no turning back. With Lena and Dr. Ivanov by my side, I vowed to protect the heart of the forest and ensure that its magic would remain untainted. Dr. Ivanov Lena and I stood before the guardian of the heart, feeling the weight of its presence. The guardian's warning about a malevolent force seeking to corrupt the forest's magic filled us with a renewed sense of urgency. We knew that this final battle would test our limits and the strength of our bond. The guardian led us to the base of the ancient tree, where we discovered an intricate network of roots and runes intertwined. The air thrummed with an otherworldly energy, and I could sense the immense power that flowed through the heart of the forest. The guardian explained that the malevolent force was already at work, trying to siphon this power for its own dark purposes. Determined to protect the heart, Dr. Ivanov Lena and I devised a plan to strengthen the barrier and thwart the malevolent force. We gathered rare herbs, enchanted stones, and other magical elements that we had collected throughout our journey. With Lena's expertise in herbal remedies and Dr. Ivanov's deep knowledge of ancient texts, we crafted a powerful protective spell. As we worked, the ground trembled and a palpable sense of dread filled the air. The malevolent force was drawing closer, and we could feel its dark presence encroaching upon the heart of the forest. I knew we had little time to complete the spell and reinforce the barrier. With the final ingredients in place, Lena began the incantation, her voice steady and resolute. Dr. Ivanov joined in, his voice harmonizing with hers, while I focused on channeling my energy into the spell. The runes on the tree's bark glowed brightly, and the air around us crackled with magic. Suddenly, a shadowy figure emerged from the darkness, its form shifting and writhing like smoke. The malevolent force had taken shape, and its eyes burned with an insatiable hunger for power. It lunged at us, its presence overwhelming and suffocating. I stood my ground, determined to protect Lena and Dr. Ivanov as they continued the incantation. The battle that ensued was fierce and relentless. The malevolent force attacked with ferocity, but my resolve held strong. I used my skills as a ranger to outmaneuver the entity, dodging its attacks and striking back with precision. Lena and Dr. Ivanov's voices rose above the chaos, their incantation forming a shield that protected them from the entity's onslaught. As the spell reached its climax, a brilliant light enveloped the clearing and the ground shook violently. The malevolent force howled in rage and pain, its form flickering and dissipating. The light intensified, and the barrier around the heart of the forest solidified, sealing the gateway to the dark realm. Exhausted but victorious, Dr. Ivanov, Lena, and I stood together, our hearts filled with relief and gratitude. The forest, once again at peace, seemed to breathe a sigh of relief. The guardian of the heart appeared before us, its eyes filled with gratitude and respect. "You have done well," the guardian said, its voice resonating with the essence of the forest. "The heart of the forest is safe, thanks to your bravery and dedication. But remember, the balance is delicate, and vigilance is always required. I nodded, understanding the gravity of the Guardian's words. I had grown immensely through this journey, evolving from a solitary ranger to a protector of ancient magic. Lena and Dr. Ivanov had become my steadfast companions, our bond forged through countless trials and triumphs. As we made our way back to the cabin, I felt a deep sense of fulfillment. I had faced unimaginable challenges and emerged stronger, both as an individual and as part of a team. The forest, once a place of mystery and danger, had become my home, and I was committed to preserving its magic for future generations. In the weeks that followed, Dr. Ivanov, Lena, and I worked tirelessly to educate the villagers about the importance of maintaining the balance we had restored. We shared our knowledge of the ancient gateways and the rituals needed to keep the barriers intact. The villagers, inspired by our example, embraced their role as stewards of the forest. My cabin, once a solitary refuge, became a hub of learning and collaboration. Lena and I hosted regular gatherings where we taught the villagers about the forest's mysteries and the magic that lay within. Dr. Ivanov's research provided invaluable insights, enriching their understanding of the land they called home. As the seasons changed and the forest flourished, I felt a profound sense of fulfillment. I had found my true calling as a guardian of the natural world, and I was determined to protect the forest for as long as I lived. The heart of the forest, with its ancient tree and powerful runes, stood as a testament to our bravery and dedication. Our journey had forged an unbreakable bond between us, and we knew that our work was far from over. The forest, with its delicate balance and hidden magic, required constant vigilance and care. But Dr. Ivanov, Lena, and I were ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead, united by our shared commitment to preserving the beauty and mystery of the Smoldering Clouds National Park. The clearing was bathed in an eerie glow as Lena, Dr. Ivanov, and I stood before the ancient tree, its runes pulsating with an otherworldly light. The malevolent force we had battled before had returned, more powerful and determined to corrupt the heart of the forest. The air was thick with tension, and the ground trembled beneath our feet. As the shadowy figure of the malevolent force emerged, its eyes burned with an insatiable hunger for power. The entity's presence was suffocating, and the very essence of the forest seemed to recoil in fear. Dr. Ivanov, Lena, and I knew that this final confrontation would determine the fate of the forest and all its inhabitants. I stepped forward, my heart pounding with resolve. I could feel the ancient tree's energy coursing through me, strengthening my determination to protect the forest. "We won't let you take this land," I declared, my voice steady and unwavering. "We'll fight with everything we have." The malevolent force responded with a roar of rage, its form shifting and writhing like smoke. It lunged at us, its dark tendrils reaching out to engulf us in its malevolent embrace. I dodged the attack, my reflexes honed by years of navigating the forest's treacherous terrain. Lena and Dr. Ivanov began the ritual to strengthen the barrier, their voices rising in unison as they chanted the ancient incantations. The runes on the tree glowed brighter, casting long shadows across the clearing. The malevolent force snarled in anger, its attacks growing more frenzied as it sensed the barrier closing in around it. The battle that ensued was fierce and relentless. I fought with all my might, using my skills as a ranger to outmaneuver the entity. I struck back with precision, my movements guided by a deep connection to the forest. Lena's voice never wavered, her incantations weaving a protective shield around us. Dr. Ivanov's scholarly knowledge provided the critical elements needed to complete the spell. As the ritual reached its climax, a brilliant light erupted from the ancient tree, enveloping the clearing. The malevolent force howled in rage and pain, its form flickering and dissipating. The light intensified, and the barrier around the heart of the forest solidified, sealing the gateway to the dark realm. Just when we thought the battle was won, the malevolent force mustered one final, desperate attack. It surged towards the ancient tree, intent on corrupting its power. I knew we had to act fast. With a burst of determination, I threw myself in front of the tree, using my body as a shield. The force struck me with a blinding intensity, and I felt a searing pain as the dark energy coursed through me. Lena's eyes widened in horror as she saw my sacrifice. She redoubled her efforts, chanting with renewed fervor. Dr. Ivanov joined in, his voice filled with urgency. The light from the tree grew even brighter, and the runes blazed with an intensity that rivaled the sun. With one final, resounding incantation, Lena and Dr. Ivanov completed the ritual. The light from the ancient tree grew even more intense, enveloping the entire clearing in a blinding, purifying glow. The malevolent force let out a final, ear-piercing scream as its dark form was consumed by the light, disintegrating into nothingness. The ground beneath Dr. Ivanov, Lena, and me trembled one last time before settling into a profound stillness. The oppressive darkness that had threatened to consume the heart of the forest was vanquished, replaced by a sense of peace and renewal. The air was clear, and the forest seemed to breathe a collective sigh of relief. I lay at the base of the ancient tree, exhausted but triumphant. Lena and Dr. Ivanov rushed to my side, their faces etched with concern. Despite the pain I felt from my selfless act, I managed a weary smile. "We did it," I whispered. "The forest is safe." Lena knelt beside me, her eyes glistening with tears of relief. "You were incredible, Theodore. You saved us all." Dr. Ivanov nodded, his usual stoic expression softened by gratitude. "Your sacrifice will not be forgotten," he added, his voice filled with respect. As the light from the tree gradually dimmed, returning the clearing to its natural state, the guardian of the heart reappeared. Its ethereal form shimmered with an aura of peace and gratitude. "You have restored the balance and ensured the safety of this sacred place," the guardian said. "The forest owes you a great debt." Dr. Ivanov, Lena, and I, with their help, slowly rose to our feet. Though weakened, I felt a deep sense of fulfillment and purpose. The forest, once threatened by a malevolent force, now thrived under our protection. The guardian's words resonated with me, reinforcing my commitment to preserving the balance we had fought so hard to achieve. As we made our way back to the cabin, I reflected on the journey that had brought us to this point. I had faced unimaginable challenges and grown in ways I never thought possible. The forest, with its ancient wisdom and boundless beauty, had become an integral part of my identity. Lena and Dr. Ivanov, too, had become more than just allies. They were family, bound by our shared mission and experiences. The villagers, who had anxiously awaited our return, greeted us with cheers and expressions of gratitude. Irina, the wise elder, led a celebration in our honor, offering thanks to the guardians and the forest for their protection. The community's bond with the land deepened, and they committed to maintaining the balance and harmony they had fought so hard to protect. My cabin, once a solitary refuge, became a hub of learning and collaboration. Lena and I continued to educate the villagers about the importance of respecting nature and preserving its magic. Dr. Ivanov's research provided invaluable insights, enriching their understanding of the land they called home. As the seasons changed and the forest flourished, I felt a profound sense of fulfillment. I had found my true calling as a guardian of the natural world, and I was determined to protect the forest for as long as I lived. The heart of the forest, with its ancient tree and powerful runes, stood as a testament to our bravery and dedication. Our journey had forged an unbreakable bond between us, and we knew that our work was far from over. The forest, with its delicate balance and hidden magic, required constant vigilance and care. But Dr. Ivanov, Lena, and I were ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead, united by our shared commitment to preserving the beauty and mystery of the Smoldering Clouds National Park.